Excuses are the invisible chains that hold people back from achieving the life they dream about, and most people don't even realize how powerful those chains are until they look back years later and see how much time was lost. Every excuse that comes out of your mouth may feel small in the moment. I don't have enough time. I don't have the money. I'll start when I feel ready. But those words create barriers that slowly stack up like bricks in a wall. Eventually, the wall becomes so tall and so thick that you can no longer even see your dream on the other side. It doesn't matter how beautiful your vision is, how much you desire success, or how loudly you declare your intentions. Excuses are louder than any dream because they take away your movement. A dream without action remains nothing but a fantasy, and excuses are the perfect excuse for inaction. Think about the times you've told yourself you couldn't do something. At first, it's just one reason, one explanation you give yourself to ease the discomfort of not following through. Maybe you say, I'm tired, I'll do it tomorrow. That seems harmless, right? But then tomorrow comes, and the same reasoning shows up again, dressed in a new outfit. Before you know it, you've trained your brain to create excuses automatically. You become skilled at defending your lack of progress, more skilled at justifying why you're stuck than actually moving forward. Every single excuse is a tiny thief that steals a piece of your future. And the tragedy is that it steals quietly. It never shouts, it never alarms you, it just whispers until one day you realize a year, 5 years, or even a decade has passed and the dream is still untouched. Excuses don't discriminate. They come for everyone, no matter how talented, intelligent, or capable you are. The person with the most potential can be crushed under the weight of excuses if they allow themselves to be. Talent doesn't override excuses. Intelligence doesn't override excuses. Only the willingness to take action can silence them. That's why so many people with extraordinary gifts never reach their full potential. Because excuses were stronger than their execution. Excuses are dream killers because they give you a way to feel comfortable about not growing. They comfort you in your stagnation. They say, it's okay, you'll do it later. And in that false comfort lies destruction. The most dangerous part about excuses is how believable they sound. Unlike lies that are easy to spot, excuses often dress themselves in truth. You really may not have enough money right now, but does that mean you can't start with what you have? You really may not have all the skills yet, but does that mean you can't learn? You may really be tired today, but does that mean you have to throw away the entire day? Excuses have a clever way of convincing you they are protecting you, but they're actually protecting your comfort zone, not your growth. They keep you safe from risk, safe from embarrassment, safe from failure, but in keeping you safe, they also keep you small. Every time you give an excuse, you are essentially telling your dream to wait, and dreams don't wait forever. They are alive, and like anything alive, if they are neglected, they die. Each excuse you make is another shovel of dirt, burying your dream deeper in the ground. And when you bury it long enough, it becomes harder and harder to dig it back up. That's why you meet people who are older and bitter, not because life didn't give them a chance, but because they kept postponing their chance with reasons that felt valid at the time. Excuses didn't just kill their dream, they killed their spirit. What makes excuses so powerful is not their size, but their consistency. One excuse doesn't ruin you, But a lifetime of excuses leaves you with nothing but regret. Regret is the shadow that excuses always leave behind. It's the voice that says, if only I had started back then, I would be so much further now. You can never escape regret once it sets in. And the saddest truth is that regret weighs far more than discipline or effort ever will. The pain of taking action is temporary, but the pain of excuses lasts forever. When you finally understand that every excuse you make is not neutral, not harmless, but actually killing your dream, you begin to treat them like the enemy they are. You realize that comfort is costly, that waiting is expensive, and that every excuse is building a wall between where you are and where you want to be. The moment you decide to stop feeding excuses and start feeding your discipline, the wall begins to crumble. And when that wall is gone, you will see your dream clearly again, not as something far away, but as something possible waiting for you to act. Comfort has a way of deceiving people into believing they are safe, when in reality, it is slowly suffocating their potential. The human mind is designed to seek safety, to look for the easiest route, to avoid pain and difficulty. But the problem is that greatness has never been born in the arms of comfort. Every extraordinary accomplishment came from someone who was willing to break out of their comfort zone and step into the unknown. Excuses are almost always born out of a desire to stay comfortable. They become the language of avoidance, the justification for not taking risks, the reasoning for why things remain the same year after year. Comfort convinces people to choose the couch over the gym, to choose watching over creating, to choose tomorrow over today. And while those choices feel harmless in the moment, they compound over time into a life filled with what ifs and missed chances. The truth is that progress feels uncomfortable. Growth stretches you. Pursuing a dream will always challenge you in ways you didn't expect. It may drain your energy, test your patience, and demand more from you than you thought you had. That's why excuses feel so appealing. They offer relief from the tension that growth creates. When you say, I'm not ready yet, or I'll start when things are perfect, you are really saying, I don't want to feel the discomfort of starting right now. But dreams are expensive, and the price they charge is discomfort. You cannot buy a better future with comfort coins. You pay with sweat, sacrifice, and courage. People don't fail because they aren't capable. They fail because they become addicted to comfort. It is easier to cling to the familiar than to embrace the unfamiliar, even when the familiar is holding them back. Excuses serve as comfort's defense system. When the thought of taking action arises, excuses rush in to protect the status quo. They say, don't do it, you might fail, or don't bother, it will take too long. They shield you from the fear of rejection, the sting of mistakes, and the embarrassment of looking foolish. But in shielding you from those things, they also shield you from growth, wisdom, and victory. Think of the people you admire most. They are not people who lived comfortably. They are people who were willing to endure hardship, uncertainty, and even pain in order to achieve something greater. Athletes push their bodies to exhaustion. Entrepreneurs risk money and security. Artists pour countless hours into mastering their craft. None of them allowed comfort to dictate their choices because they knew comfort would never produce greatness. If comfort was the key to success, then everyone would be successful because everyone knows how to choose ease. But true success requires courage, and courage only shows up when you leave comfort behind. Excuses whisper lies that make comfort seem reasonable. They say, you need to rest more before you start. You don't have enough resources. Or wait until you feel confident. These whispers feel like self-care, but they are actually self-sabotage in disguise. Real self-care is doing what is necessary to grow into your potential, not avoiding the very challenges that make you stronger. Confidence doesn't come before action, it comes after action. Resources don't appear before effort, they appear when you start moving. Rest doesn't restore you if you're resting from a life you've never really lived. Comfort is an illusion because it feels safe now, but it costs you later. It trades temporary relief for long-term regret. You can avoid the discomfort of chasing your dream, but you cannot avoid the pain of knowing you never tried. At the end of your life, it won't be the discomfort of late nights, hard work, or failures that haunts you. It will be the comfort you clung to while your dreams faded into the background. Regret is the ultimate discomfort, and it lasts far longer than any challenge you might face on the path to your goals. The people who rise above excuses are not the ones who don't feel fear or discomfort. They feel it like everyone else. The difference is they decide that discomfort is worth enduring because the reward on the other side is greater. They understand that every excuse they give themselves is a way of clinging to safety, and they refuse to let safety rob them of destiny. Each time they choose to move forward despite the discomfort, they expand their capacity. They grow stronger, wiser, and more resilient, while those who stay in comfort zones shrink in courage and spirit. So every time you hear yourself making an excuse, recognize it for what it truly is, a desire to stay comfortable. Then ask yourself which pain you would rather carry: the temporary discomfort of stepping into action, or the lifelong discomfort of regret. One leads to growth and possibility, the other to stagnation and missed opportunities. Comfort may feel good in the moment, but it will never feel as becoming everything you were created to be. And to reach that version of yourself, you must decide that excuses will no longer be your shield, because comfort will never be your crown. Excuses often sound reasonable, logical, even necessary, but the truth is they are the silent thieves of dreams. People craft excuses to justify why they aren't moving forward, why they can't start, or why success hasn't yet appeared in their lives. Excuses feel comfortable because they protect you from risk, failure, and the unknown, but in doing so, they steal the very thing you claim to want most: your dream. Every excuse you make, no matter how small it seems, creates distance between where you are and where you want to be. Over time, those small justifications accumulate into years of stagnation, missed opportunities, and unfulfilled potential. Excuses don't negotiate. They simply take quietly, leaving behind regret and a life half lived. Most excuses are built on fear. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of what might happen if you step out of your comfort zone. When you tell yourself, "I'll start tomorrow," or "I don't have enough experience," you are really saying, "I'm afraid." Fear is a natural part of growth, but it is also a signal that action is required. The moment you feel fear and resist it, you begin to move in the direction of your dreams. The moment you listen to excuses and let them dictate your choices, you stay stuck. Excuses are fear disguised as reasoning. They sound safe, they feel protective, but they are nothing more than obstacles dressed in polite language. Excuses often present themselves as truths. You may really be tired, really lack money, really feel unprepared, But truth without action is meaningless. You can acknowledge your circumstances without letting them define your outcome. The world is full of people who lacked resources, support, and guidance. Yet they refused to let excuses dictate their destiny. They found ways to act, to learn, to move forward, even when conditions were far from perfect. Waiting for the perfect moment, perfect circumstances, or perfect preparation is another form of excuse, a trap that keeps you stationary while life continues to pass by. One of the most dangerous aspects of excuses is how easily they become habits. Once your mind becomes accustomed to explaining why something can't be done, it will create excuses automatically, without conscious thought. It whispers reasons to stay in place, justifies procrastination, and reinforces the illusion of safety. You may even convince yourself that making excuses is being responsible or cautious, when in reality, it is killing your dream one good reason at a time. The cumulative effect of habitual excuses is not only lost time, but a sense of resignation, the quiet acceptance of mediocrity, and the eventual realization that you could have done more, but chose not to. Excuses also rob you of your sense of power. When you blame circumstances, other people, or external conditions, you hand over control of your life to factors outside yourself. You tell your mind and heart that someone else or something else is responsible for your outcomes. That is the opposite of empowerment. True growth and achievement come when you take ownership, when you refuse to allow excuses to define your limits, and when you decide that no obstacle, no challenge, and no fear will prevent you from pursuing what matters most. The antidote to excuses is action. Action does not require perfect conditions, perfect preparation, or perfect confidence. Action is proof that you are capable, proof that your dreams matter, and proof that your will is stronger than the reasons to stay still. Every step taken, no matter how small, weakens the hold of excuses. The more you act, the less power excuses have. The more you move, the clearer your path becomes. Action breaks the cycle of hesitation and replaces fear and doubt with experience and momentum. Excuses will never build your dream. They cannot make you successful, fulfilled, or empowered. Only consistent effort, persistent action, and the willingness to do what others won't do can transform a vision into reality. Dreams demand courage, discipline, and resilience, none of which are compatible with habitual excuses. Excuses sound easy, but they are expensive. They cost you time, opportunity, and the chance to discover what you are truly capable of. The longer you allow excuses to guide your decisions, the heavier the weight of regret becomes until it overshadows the life you could have lived. When you recognize that excuses are not neutral, you begin to see them for what they truly are: obstacles in disguise. Every time you question whether you are ready, every time you rationalize why now is not the right moment, you are choosing inaction over progress. The path to your dream will never be free of challenges, but those challenges are meant to be met, not avoided. Excuses are the temptation to settle, to remain small, to let fear dictate the terms of your life. The only way to silence them is to start, to move, to act, and to refuse to let reasons not to overpower your desire to succeed. Your dreams are meant to challenge you, to stretch you beyond what feels comfortable, and to push you into spaces where excuses no longer hold power. Many people fail to reach their potential because they allow excuses to control their decisions, convincing themselves that the obstacles in front of them are permanent barriers rather than temporary challenges to overcome. Excuses create a false sense of limitation, telling you that circumstances, other people, or even your own abilities are too weak to achieve the life you desire. The truth is that excuses only have the power you give them, and every time you allow an excuse to dictate your choice, you move further away from the life you were meant to live. Excuses often hide behind the language of responsibility or practicality. You tell yourself, I have too many obligations. I need to take care of my family first. Or I don't have the right resources yet. On the surface, these statements may sound reasonable, even responsible, but underneath lies a refusal to act in spite of difficulty. They are masks for fear, disguising hesitation as prudence. Every excuse accepted is a delay in taking the steps that could transform your vision into reality. Excuses thrive in these moments because they offer comfort without consequence. But the cost of that comfort is enormous. It is measured in lost opportunities, wasted time, and dreams that remain just out of reach. One of the most deceptive things about excuses is how familiar they feel. Over time, they become habit, a default response whenever the idea of action presents itself. The human mind is wired to avoid pain and discomfort, and excuses exploit that wiring masterfully. They make you believe that waiting, postponing, or avoiding is protecting you, when in reality it is eroding your potential. Each time you surrender to an excuse, you are telling your dreams you are not important enough to prioritize. You begin to associate risk with danger rather than opportunity, and the fear of failing becomes louder than the desire to succeed. Excuses are especially dangerous because they create illusions of control. When you say, I can't because of this, or I'll start when that happens, you convince yourself that you are being realistic, but in reality, you are handing control of your destiny to external forces. Your success is no longer determined by your vision, your effort, or your determination. It is dictated by circumstances that may never change. The longer you wait for perfect conditions, the further your dreams drift from your grasp. The only true control you have is over your actions, over your willingness to take steps despite fear, uncertainty, or lack of preparation. History is full of people who achieved greatness, not because conditions were perfect, but because they refused to let excuses rule their lives. Entrepreneurs, athletes, inventors, and artists all faced setbacks, lack of resources, criticism, and doubt, yet they acted anyway. They understood that waiting for permission, waiting for the right time, or waiting for conditions to be ideal was nothing more than a way to delay their destiny. Every step they took, no matter how imperfect, chipped away at the power of excuses. Every small action moved them closer to their dreams, proving that progress comes not from explanation, but from execution. The cost of excuses is not only measured in what you fail to achieve, but also in the person you become when you rely on them. Excuses make you smaller. They limit your confidence, shrink your courage, and erode your resilience. When you repeatedly choose not to act, you train yourself to settle, to accept mediocrity, and to doubt your own potential. Excuses teach you to fear discomfort, to avoid challenges, and to delay your growth indefinitely. In contrast, confronting excuses builds strength. Facing the reasons you hesitate, pushing past the justifications you give yourself, and taking action despite fear cultivates confidence, resilience, and self-belief. Excuses are silent, but their consequences are loud. They echo through years of inaction, manifesting as regret, disappointment, and the haunting sense of what could have been. They whisper that you are not ready, not capable, not deserving, yet they never offer a solution. The only way to silence them is through action. Decisive, consistent, and unrelenting action. Action transforms doubt into experience, hesitation into momentum, and excuses into lessons. It proves that your dreams are more powerful than any justification for delay. Ultimately, your life will not be defined by the excuses you made or the obstacles you imagined. It will be defined by the choices you took, the risks you embraced, and the courage you demonstrated when it would have been easier to stand still. Dreams do not wait for explanations, comfort, or perfection. They respond to action. When you stop allowing excuses to dominate your decisions, you reclaim your power, honor your potential, and begin moving toward the life you were always capable of achieving. Regret is the invisible weight that slowly accumulates when we allow excuses to dictate our actions. Every time you justify an action, postpone a decision, or rationalize why now is not the right moment, you are trading today's opportunity for a future that may never come. The pain of regret is not immediate. It grows quietly, often unnoticed, until one day you look back and realize that years have slipped away while your dreams remained untouched. Unlike failure, which teaches, shapes, and strengthens, regret offers no lessons, no second chances, and no redemption. It is the ultimate cost of allowing excuses to control your life, a reminder of what you could have achieved but never pursued. Excuses give you temporary relief from discomfort, fear, or uncertainty, but that relief comes at a price. While you convince yourself that waiting is reasonable, that the timing isn't right, or that you lack resources, life is moving forward without you. Time is the one resource that cannot be replenished, and every moment spent making excuses is a moment lost forever. The danger is that excuses rarely feel harmful when you make them. They sound logical, practical, or protective, which lulls you into a false sense of security. You feel like you are making the best decision, when in reality, you are slowly distancing yourself from the very life you claim to want. Regret is particularly painful because it is cumulative. One missed opportunity may feel insignificant, but repeated excuses compound into a lifetime of what-ifs. Each decision to wait, to delay, or to avoid responsibility adds another layer to a mental barrier that keeps you from realizing your potential. Over time, these layers become heavy, and the dreams that once inspired hope begin to feel distant, unattainable, or even impossible. People often underestimate how quickly time passes and how easily excuses can shape an entire life when left unchecked. The longer you postpone action, the harder it becomes to start, because inaction breeds doubt, fear, and hesitation. Many people believe that waiting will make success easier, that conditions will improve, or that they will somehow feel more ready in the future. But waiting is a trap disguised as prudence. Life is unpredictable, and the perfect moment rarely arrives. Waiting for permission, for resources, for clarity, or for confidence is simply another way to delay action. Excuses thrive on this delay, offering comfort in the present while stealing your future. They create the illusion that you are protecting yourself from failure, but in reality, you are guaranteeing a different kind of failure. The failure to live up to your own potential. The people who overcome excuses understand that action is the antidote to regret. They know that fear, uncertainty, and imperfection are part of the process, and they are willing to act anyway. They take small steps forward consistently, knowing that progress is more important than perfection. Each action, no matter how minor it seems, chips away at the power of excuses and builds momentum. By acting, you reclaim control of your life, proving to yourself that your dreams matter more than the reasons not to try. Action transforms potential into reality, fear into courage, and hesitation into confidence. Regret is also powerful because it is deeply personal. No one else can experience it for you. While others may offer advice, support, or encouragement, the consequences of an action are yours alone. It is your responsibility to make choices that align with your goals and values, to push through discomfort, and to refuse to allow excuses to dictate your destiny. Every time you act despite fear, doubt, or lack of preparation, you reduce the risk of regret. Every decision to move forward rather than wait builds a life that reflects courage, intention, and purpose. Excuses often promise safety, but they deliver loss. They make you feel like you are avoiding risk, protecting yourself from failure, or acting responsibly, when in reality they are stealing your dreams. The ultimate tragedy is that by the time many people realize the cost, the window of opportunity has closed. The moments they could have seized, the risks they could have taken, and the growth they could have experienced have passed, leaving only the lingering weight of what might have been. Regret is the shadow that follows a life lived cautiously, without bold action, without persistence, without the courage to challenge excuses. The difference between regret and fulfillment is simple action. Every time you choose to act, to pursue your dream despite fear, doubt, or discomfort, you prevent regret from taking root. Excuses may still arise, but when you move forward anyway, they lose their power. Momentum, experience, and confidence grow in their place, shaping a life filled with achievement, growth, and possibility. Regret can be avoided, but only if you refuse to let excuses control your decisions and choose courage, action, and persistence over hesitation, delay, and inaction. Time will continue to move, opportunities will continue to appear and disappear, and life will keep unfolding. If you wait too long, regret becomes inevitable. But when you act decisively, the weight of regret diminishes, replaced by the satisfaction of knowing you gave your dreams every possible chance to succeed. Permission is something most people spend their lives waiting for, and in the process, they allow opportunities to slip away. Many believe that before they can pursue a dream, they need approval from others, friends, family, teachers, bosses, or society at large. They wait for a nod of encouragement, a certificate of readiness, or a perfect alignment of circumstances, thinking that only then will their actions be justified. The reality is that no one is required to give you permission to pursue your own destiny. Permission is not granted externally, it is claimed internally through action, courage, and the decision to take ownership of your life. Too often, people allow their dreams to be dictated by others' opinions. They ask questions like, "What will people think?" Or, "Am I allowed to do this?" And allow those questions to paralyze them. They are conditioned to seek validation, to hope that someone else will provide reassurance before moving forward. But while they wait, time passes. Opportunities are missed. Momentum is lost. Dreams shrink in the mind because they are delayed in the heart. Permission is never going to be handed to you. It must be taken, seized, and acted upon. Every step forward is a declaration that you do not need external approval to live the life you envision. Confidence is born through action, not validation. Many people delay starting because they feel unprepared, not realizing that preparation itself is a product of engagement. You don't become ready by waiting. You become ready by doing. Action builds competence, resilience, and self-belief. The more you act, the more evidence you create that you are capable, and the less power excuses or doubts have over you. Waiting for someone else to confirm your readiness is a way of allowing fear to control your life. Fear disguises itself as caution, logic, or responsibility, but is really a chain that binds potential. True permission comes the moment you decide that action matters more than hesitation. History is full of examples of people who refused to wait for permission and achieved greatness anyway. Inventors, entrepreneurs, artists, and leaders did not wait for validation before taking steps. They acted despite uncertainty, scarcity, and doubt. They spoke, created, and led without first receiving approval because they understood that waiting would only ensure their dreams remained unrealized. In fact, many breakthroughs only happen when someone steps forward while others are still hesitating, afraid to risk, or waiting for validation that never comes. Action is the proof that you don't need anyone else's permission to begin. Excuses often arise from a desire to wait for perfect conditions. People tell themselves, I'll start when I have more resources. I'll begin when I feel more confident. I'll act when the timing is right. Those excuses sound reasonable, but they are illusions. Perfect conditions rarely exist. Life is unpredictable. Circumstances are rarely ideal. And the perfect moment is often a mirage. If you wait for external factors to align, you will be waiting indefinitely. True progress is made by starting where you are, using what you have, and learning along the way. The act of beginning is what grants you permission to continue, grow, and succeed. Permission is also about ownership. Waiting for approval is a way of relinquishing control of your life to someone else. When you stop waiting and take action, you reclaim that control. You decide what matters, what is possible, and what steps you will take. You no longer rely on others' opinions or external validation to guide your path. Every choice you make to act, every risk you take, and every step forward reinforces the fact that your life is yours to shape. You do not need a stamp of approval to be worthy of pursuing your dreams. Excuses and fear will always try to convince you to wait. They will suggest that you are not ready, not capable, or not allowed. But when you act, you remove their power. Each step forward diminishes doubt and strengthens courage. Action is the ultimate declaration of independence from excuses. It says, I am capable, I am worthy, I am ready enough to start now. Momentum grows from movement, clarity comes from doing, and confidence develops from proving to yourself that you can act in spite of fear. Life rewards those who refuse to wait. While others are stalled by hesitation and the desire for validation, those who take action accumulate experience, opportunities, and success. They discover solutions, build connections, and gain confidence that could not have been achieved through waiting. The world does not wait for permission, and neither do opportunities. Every moment spent in hesitation is a moment lost to someone else who is willing to act. Permission is claimed in motion, not in waiting. And the path to your dream begins the instant you choose to move forward. Ultimately, the only permission you need is the one you give yourself. You do not need someone to tell you that you are capable, deserving, or ready. You prove it through action, persistence, and courage. Each choice to act, even imperfectly, is a declaration that your dreams are worth pursuing, that your potential is valid, and that your life belongs to you. Waiting for external approval is unnecessary because the power to begin, to grow, and to succeed has always been in your hands.